Last month, IRCC had released eligibility criteria for two new permanent resident pathway through Canada Gazette. These programs aim to strengthen the Canadian workforce by attracting skilled workers to rural and Francophone community. This initiative addresses labor shortage and economical development. The two new programs are Rural Community Immigration Class and Francophone Community Immigration Class. Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video, I will provide in-depth breakdown of eligibility criteria of each pathway as specified in the ministerial instructions. So let's get started.
The two new pathways are the Rural Community Immigration Class, that is RCIC, and Francophone Community Immigration Class, which is FCIC. So let's start with RCIC. Applicant must show relevant work experience matching their occupation under Canada's NOC. The main requirements are at least 1 year or 1560 hours of continuous full-time work experience or an equivalent amount of part-time work experience gained within past 3 years. Work experience must be consistent with the lead statement and include a significant percentage of the key duties mentioned for the specified occupation. Any Canadian job experience must have been earned while holding a valid temporary resident visa. Required work experience. The applicant must demonstrate that they have the following work experience. For example, first point, if you have a current offer letter of tier category 0, your past experience should be in category 0, 1, 2 or 3. Likewise, if you have job offer letter of tier category 1, you should have your past experience in tier category 0, 1, 2, 3. Similarly, in fifth point, if you have current job offer letter of tier category 4, you should have past experience in tier category 2, 3 and 4. If you are an international student, you are exempt from work experience if you meet all of the following conditions. The applicant was enrolled as a full-time student during the entire period of the program. The eligible credentials was obtained within 18 months before the day on which the applicant applied for permanent residence. For master's or doctorate program under 2 years, applicant must have studied full-time in a designated rural community. For program exceeding 2 years, applicant must have spent at least 16 of the last 24 months within the designated community. Your program must not have more than 50% of the credits in the language studies, like studying English or French. It should also involve more than 50% distance learning, or to be associated with scholarship that requires the graduate to return to their home country. Employment conditions. Genuine offer of employment. Applicants must ensure a valid job offer that satisfies the following conditions. The offer must come from an employer approved by Economic Development Organization in the designated rural community. This means that the business or the employment should register with their city. The job must be permanent, full-time and non-seasonal. At least 75% of the work must occur within the designated rural community. The job offer must match the applicant work experience or the education background related to the lead statement and primary duties of the occupation described in the NOC. Language proficiency is almost similar to the RNIP requirement in the past. Applicants must prove proficiency in their English or French by providing the result from an IRCC approved language test. The results must be less than 2 years old at the time of application and must meet the following Canadian language benchmark levels. If your job falls under tier category 0 or 1, you should have minimum CLB 6. And if your occupation in tier 2 or 3, you should have minimum CLB 5. And if your job in tier category 4 or 5, you should have CLB 4 or more. And in this chart, you can see the IELTS score equivalent to CLB level. Applicant must hold an Canadian secondary or post-secondary education credentials or obtain an ECA for foreign credential confirming equivalency to Canadian education standards. Certificate of recommendation or recommendation letter from community. Applicants are required to secure a certificate of recommendation from the designated community's economic development organization. This certificate verifies the applicant's job offer and connection to the community. It remains valid for 6 months from the date of issuance, but may be revoked if the designated employer loses its status or if any fraudulent claims are discovered. So now we will see criteria for certificate of recommendation. The Economic Development Organization may grant a certificate of recommendation to a foreign national if it determines that the foreign national meets the required criteria. So first one is work experience. Possess the necessary work experience to the tier category of the education specified in the genuine offer of the employment as outlined in the required work experience, or is exempt from the required work experience as per the International Graduate Exemption. Genuine offer of employment. The job offer must be in the priority occupation in the community, meet the wages standard set by the job bank or local economic development organization, and be supported by the documentation verifying its authenticity, including evidence of recruitment efforts. Language proficiency. Applicant should have the required language proficiency set out in the language proficiency section. Applicant meets the education requirement as mentioned earlier in this video. An applicant should intend to reside in the designated community. Intend to reside in the community. Applicant must demonstrate a genuine intention to live in a designated rural community in a Canadian province or territory outside of Quebec. If applying from within Canada, they must also maintain a valid temporary resident status throughout the application process. So what funds you have to show? Applicant must show they have sufficient transferable and debit-free funds equal to the half of the low-income cutoff amount for rural areas, as published annually by Statistics Canada. These funds must cover 1 year of living expense for themselves and their family members, whether accompanying or not. Exception. The necessary funds requirement mentioned above do not apply to the applicant who is already employed in Canada. Participating communities. Although IRCC has not officially announced the participating communities, the following community which have previously succeeded under pilot program are anticipated to take part. This information should currently be visible on your screen. However, please be aware that it is not fully confirmed and may be subject to change. Next is FCIC, which is Francophone Community Immigration Class. So this is for applicant who wants to stay permanently as a member of Francophone Community Immigration Class. Francophone community means Canadian community that includes a Francophone minority population within its geographical boundaries, and that is set out in the list of communities designated by the ministers. The eligibility of FCIC is almost same with RCIP, which we have seen in this earlier video, except language proficiency, because this is for French-speaking applicants. Applicants are required to demonstrate advanced proficiency in French, equivalent to CLB 5 or higher, in all 4 language skills, which are reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Although IRCC has not officially announced the participating communities, but I have found 14 Francophone community which are listed on Canada.ca, which can be anticipated for this path. However, please be aware that this is not fully confirmed and may be subject to change. So these are the eligibility criteria for 2 new programs which are going to launch soon. Since we have to wait for more information from the government, what you can do meanwhile as an applicant? You can work on your documentation. You can give language test if you have not given or it is going to expire because it lasts for 2 years. You can prepare for ECA if you have studied outside of Canada, and you can prepare the other related stuff which we have discussed in the eligibility requirement. And that's everything in this video. I will see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care.